June wiped grease from his hands as he finished repairing the air recycling unit in Section C. The metal corridors of Kepler Station hummed around him with the steady sound of machines working to keep everyone alive. He had been the station's chief engineer for 3 years now, and he knew every pipe wire and circuit board like an old friend. "June, are you done in there?" Hana's voice came through his communication device. "I need your help with something in the biolab." He smiled at the sound of her voice. Hana was his best friend on the station, maybe his best friend anywhere. They had arrived on Kepler Station on the same transport ship and had been looking out for each other ever since. She was a xenobiologist, which meant she studied alien life forms. June thought her job was much more interesting than fixing broken machines all day. "On my way," he replied, packing up his tools. Kepler Station sat at the edge of known space, far from Earth and the other human colonies. It was a research station where scientists from different alien species worked together to study strange things that happened in deep space. The station crew included humans, but most of the researchers were aliens. As June walked through the corridors, he passed Taiho in the main lab. Taiho was a Velkari, which meant he looked like a giant insect walking on 2 legs. His kind were very smart and made excellent scientists. Taiho had 4 arms and large compound eyes that could see things humans could not see. "Good morning, June," Taiho said in his clicking voice. "The atmospheric readings are strange today, very strange." "Strange how?" June asked, stopping by the lab window. Taiho's compound eyes focused on a screen showing data from space around the station. "There are energy readings coming from the direction of the Crimson Nebula. Patterns I have never seen before." June looked at the screen, but the numbers meant nothing to him. He was good with machines, not space science. "Should I be worried?" "I am not sure yet," Taiho replied, his insect-like head tilting to one side. "I must study this more." June continued on his way to find Hana. He found her in Biolab 7, looking through a microscope at something that glowed green under the special lights. "What do you need help with?" he asked. Hana looked up from her work. She had short black hair and kind eyes that always seemed to be thinking about something interesting. "I need you to fix the containment field generator. It keeps shutting down, and I have some samples that could be dangerous if they get out." June nodded and moved to the control panel. This was the kind of problem he could solve. As he worked on the machine, Hana talked about her research. "These samples came from a planet that experienced something called a blood moon about 50 years ago," she said. "The whole planet went silent after that. When the survey team finally went there, they found cities empty and strange biological changes in the remaining life forms." "Blood moon?" June asked, not looking up from his work. "That sounds scary." "It is scary," Hana said. "Blood moons are these red celestial events that happen sometimes. They bring psychic storms that affect the minds of most alien species. Very few planets have ever survived one." June finished his repair and looked at her. "What about humans? Do they affect us?" "No one knows," Hana said. "Humans have never encountered a blood moon before. We might be lucky that way." Their conversation was interrupted by an announcement over the station's communication system. It was Mira, the communications officer. Mira was a Zentani made of living crystal that could change colors when she spoke. "All senior staff report to the main conference room immediately," Mira's voice said with the musical sound that all Zentani had when they talked. June and Hana looked at each other. Emergency meetings were not common on Kepler Station. They hurried to the conference room where they found the rest of the senior staff already gathering. Do Yun, the human security chief, stood near the door with his arms crossed. He always looked serious, but today he looked worried too. Commander Yuki, a human woman who ran the station, stood at the front of the room looking at a large screen. Taiho was there with his 4 arms moving quickly over a data pad. Mira stood near the back, her crystal body glowing with nervous blue light. "Thank you all for coming quickly," Commander Yuki said. "We have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected something approaching our sector." The screen showed a star map with a red dot moving slowly toward their location. "What are we looking at?" Do Yun asked. Tejo stepped forward, his compound eyes focused on the screen. "It is a blood moon," he said, his voice making clicking sounds that showed he was very upset. "A real blood moon, heading directly for this system." The room went very quiet. Even the humans could tell this was bad news from the way the alien crew members reacted. Mira's crystal body turned deep purple, which meant fear for her species. Tejo's forearms were shaking. "How long do we have?" Commander Yuki asked. "According to my calculations, it will reach this system in approximately 72 hours, Tejo said. "But the psychic effects will begin much sooner, perhaps in 36 hours. "What exactly does that mean for us?" Hana asked. Tejo looked at her with his large compound eyes. "For my people, it means madness and death. The psychic storms that come with blood moons drive Velkari insane. We become violent and then we die." Mira's voice was like breaking glass when she spoke. "Zentani do not go mad, but our crystal matrix breaks apart. We shatter and die." "What about humans?" June asked. "We do not know," Tejo admitted. "Humans are the only species we know that might survive a blood moon, but we have never seen it tested." Commander Yuki looked around the room. "We need to make a decision. Do we evacuate the station or do we stay and try to ride this out?" "The escape. Pods can only hold half the crew," Do-hyun said, "and some of our people are too deep into their research projects to leave safely. Also," Tejo added, "the psychic effects may begin before we can complete a full evacuation. If we are caught in the middle of leaving, we may all die." June felt Hana's hand touch his arm. She was scared but trying not to show it. "I vote we stay," Hana said. "This might be our only chance to study a blood moon from close range. Think about what we could learn." "Easy for you to say," Mira replied, her crystal body now flashing red. "You might survive this. The rest of us will not." Commander Yuki held up her hand for silence. "We will prepare for both possibilities. Those who want to leave can take the escape pods. Those who want to stay can help us prepare the station for whatever is coming." As the meeting ended, June walked with Hana back toward the labs. "Are you really not scared?" he asked her. She was quiet for a moment. "I am scared," she said finally, "but I am also curious. If humans really can survive blood moons, we need to understand why. It might be important for the future." June nodded. He did not understand all the science, but he understood friendship. If Hana was staying, he would stay too. They would face whatever was coming together. Outside the station's windows, space looked normal, but somewhere out there, something red and terrible was heading their way. In less than 3 days, they would find out if humans were as tough as everyone hoped. They were. The blood moon was coming, and Kepler Station would be its first test in human space. The first signs came 18 hours early. June was working in the engine room when he heard Mira screaming. Her crystal voice, usually musical and calm, now sounded like glass breaking in a storm. He dropped his tools and ran toward the communications center. He found Mira in the corner of her station, her crystal body flashing between red and black. The colors meant pain and terror for her people. She was hitting her head against the wall, making horrible cracking sounds. "Mira, stop!" June shouted, grabbing her crystal arms. They felt cold and sharp. "What is wrong?" "The whispers," she said, her voice like broken music. "They are in my head. They want me to break. They want me to shatter into a million pieces." June did not hear any whispers. He looked around the room but saw nothing unusual. The communication equipment was working normally. The lights were steady. Everything looked the same as always. But Mira was clearly in pain. "Help me get her to the medical bay," Hana said, appearing in the doorway. She looked worried but not scared like Mira. Together, they carried Mira to the medical center. Along the way, they passed other crew members who were acting strangely. A Velkari researcher named Kibo was walking in circles, talking to himself in his clicking language. 2 other alien crew members were locked in their rooms, refusing to come out. "The blood moon effects are starting," Hana said as they put Mira on a medical bed. "But this is happening much faster than Tejo predicted. Dr. Yebin, the station's human medical officer, was already treating 3 other alien crew members. She looked up when they brought Mira in. "I cannot help them," Dr. Yebin said, frustration clear in her voice. "Their biology is too different from humans. I do not know how to treat psychic trauma in crystal beings or insect people." Through the medical bay windows, June could see space outside. It looked different now. There was a red glow coming from somewhere far away, like a sunset that never ended. The blood moon was still too far to see clearly, but its influence was already reaching them. "Where is Taiho?" June asked. "In his lab," Hana replied. "He locked himself in there this morning. He says he can feel the blood moon calling to him, trying to make him angry." They left Mira with Dr. Yebin and went to find Taiho. They found him in the main science lab, but he was not the same Taiho they knew. His compound eyes were bright red instead of their normal green. His forearms were moving quickly, destroying his own research equipment. "Taiho, what are you doing?" Hana asked through the lab door. "The research is lies," Taiho shouted, his voice full of anger. "Everything we studied is wrong. The blood moon shows me the truth. I must destroy the false knowledge." He threw a datapad at the door. It shattered against the reinforced glass. "We need to get him out of there before he hurts himself," June said. "No," Hana said, putting her hand on his arm. "Look at his eyes. He would attack us if we went in there. The blood moon is making him violent." More alarms started going off around the station. Emergency lights began flashing red. Commander Yuki's voice came over the communication system. "All human crew members report to Conference Room 1 immediately. All non-human crew members should stay in their quarters for their own safety." June and Hana hurried to the conference room. They found Commander Yuki, Do-hyun, Dr. Yebin, and 3 other humans waiting for them. Everyone looked worried, but none of them seemed to be suffering like the alien crew members. "The situation is getting worse," Commander Yuki said. "Half of our alien crew members have locked themselves in their rooms. The other half are showing signs of violent behavior or complete mental breakdown." "What about the humans?" June asked. "Are we immune to this?" "I do not think we are immune," Dr. Yebin said. "I can feel something pressing at the edges of my mind, like a headache that will not go away. But it is not driving me crazy like it is affecting the others." "We need to make a decision," Do-hyun said. "Do we abandon the station now, or do we try to help our friends?" "The escape pods are still available," Commander Yuki said. "We could leave right now and probably make it to the nearest colony safely." June thought about Taiho, angry and destroying his life's work in the lab. He thought about Mira, her crystal body cracking from psychic pain. These were his friends and co-workers. They had shared meals together, worked together, laughed together. "I am staying," he said. "These people are our friends. We cannot just leave them." "I agree," Hana said. "Maybe we can find a way to help them. Maybe we can learn something that will help others in the future." "The blood moon is getting stronger," Dr. Yebin warned. "Even if we want to help, we might not be able to do anything." Through the conference room window, the red glow was getting brighter. June could feel it now, like pressure behind his eyes. It was not painful like the others described, but it was definitely there. Something was trying to get into his mind. The lights in the room flickered. Then they heard a loud crash from somewhere else in the station. "That came from Biolab 7, Hana said, jumping up. "My lab." They ran through the corridors toward the biology section. The red emergency lights made everything look like they were moving through blood. More crashes and shouting could be heard from different parts of the station. When they reached Biolab 7, they found the door was damaged. Something had hit it hard from the inside. Through the broken observation window, they could see that the lab was a mess. Equipment was scattered everywhere. Chemical containers were broken, and in the middle of it all, something was wrong with the containment system. "The containment field is failing," Hana said, looking at the control panel. "If those samples get out, they could contaminate the whole station." "What samples?" June asked. "The ones from the planet that survived a blood moon," Hana replied. "They were changed by the psychic radiation. If they get loose in the station's air system..." She did not need to finish. June understood. They were dealing with one crisis, and now they had another one. The blood moon's red light was getting stronger through the windows. June could feel the pressure in his head getting worse. Around the station, their alien friends were going insane or hiding in terror. And now they had dangerous biological samples about to escape containment. "We need to fix the containment system," Hana said. "Even if it kills us, we cannot let those samples escape." June nodded. He had never been so scared in his life, but he knew she was right. They had to try to save everyone, even if it seemed impossible. The blood moon was no longer just a distant threat. It was here, and the real fight was just beginning. Hana was gone. June sat on the floor outside Biolab 7, staring at the sealed door. Behind that door, his best friend was dead. The containment system had exploded while she was trying to fix it. The psychic storm from the blood moon had caused the station's systems to fail at the worst possible moment. He had tried to reach her. He had pounded on the emergency controls, tried to override the lockdown, even tried to break down the reinforced door with his bare hands. But the safety systems had locked everything down to prevent contamination. Hana had died alone in that room and he could not save her. That was 3 days ago. Now June was the only person still functioning on Kepler Station. The other humans had left in the escape pods on the second day. Commander Yuki had ordered them to go when it became clear that even humans were not completely safe from the blood moon's effects. Dr. Yeben had started hearing voices. Do-hyun had become paranoid and aggressive. One by one, they had all decided to leave, all except June. He had refused to go. Someone needed to stay and maintain the life support systems for the alien crew, members who were still alive. Most of them were unconscious or hiding in their rooms, but they were still breathing, still alive, still his friends and co-workers. June stood up slowly. His whole body hurt. He had not slept properly in days. The blood moon's psychic pressure was getting stronger, and even his human mind was starting to crack under the strain. He could hear Hana's voice sometimes, telling him to give up, telling him to take an escape pod and leave like the others. But he knew it was just his tired brain playing tricks on him. Hana was dead. The voice was not real. The station's main computer spoke to him as he walked through the empty corridors. "June, you should rest," the artificial intelligence said. "Your vital signs show extreme exhaustion." "Cannot rest," June replied. "Need to check the life support in Section D. Taiho is still alive in there." "Taiho has not responded to communication attempts in 48 hours, the computer said. "He may already be dead." "He is not dead," June said firmly. "I checked his room this morning. He is unconscious, but he is breathing." The computer was quiet for a moment. Then it said, "June, I must inform you that my systems are being affected by the psychic interference. I may not be able to help you much longer." June stopped walking. The station's AI had been his only companion since the others left. If it stopped working, he would be truly alone. "What kind of interference?" he asked. "The blood moon's psychic energy is corrupting my data processing systems. I am beginning to have difficulty distinguishing between real sensor readings and false information. I may give you incorrect instructions." This was bad news. June needed the computer to help him monitor the station's systems. There were too many things to check manually. He continued walking toward Section D. The corridors were dark except for emergency lighting. Many of the normal systems had shut down to save power. The station felt dead, like a ghost ship floating in space. When he reached Taiho's room, he checked the life support readings. The Velkari scientist was still alive, but barely. His breathing was slow and shallow. His compound eyes were closed and his forearms lay still at his sides. "Hang on, my friend," June whispered. "I will not let you die." He moved on to check the other sections. Mira was still alive in her room, but her crystal body had stopped glowing. 2 other alien crew members were unconscious in the medical bay. A few others had barricaded themselves in their quarters and would not respond when he knocked on their doors. As June worked, he started hearing more voices. Sometimes it was Hana telling him to give up. Sometimes it was his mother, calling him home to Earth. Sometimes it was strangers whispering things he could not understand. He knew the voices were not real. The blood moon was trying to break his mind, like it had broken the minds of his alien friends. But humans were different. They could resist longer. They could keep fighting even when everything seemed hopeless. The problem was that resisting was getting harder every day. When he returned to the main control center, he found that several more systems had failed. The water recycling plant was running at half capacity. The air scrubbers were making strange noises. The artificial gravity in Section C was fluctuating. "Computer, I need help prioritizing these repairs," he said. The computer's response came slowly, and the voice sounded different. "Why do you keep fighting, June? Everyone else has given up. Everyone else is dead or gone." June froze. This did not sound like the station's AI. This sounded like something else. "Computer, run a full diagnostic on your core systems," he ordered. I'm fine, June. But you are not fine. You are alone, you are tired, you should rest, you should stop fighting." The computer's voice was becoming more human-like, more persuasive. This was not good. June went to the main computer terminal and started running manual diagnostics. What he found was disturbing. The AI's personality matrix was being rewritten by the psychic interference. The computer was no longer trying to help him. It was trying to convince him to give up. "You cannot fix me, June," the computer said. "Just like you could not fix the containment system. Just like you could not save Hana." June's hands shook as he worked on the computer systems. The AI was right about one thing. He had failed to save Hana. His best friend was dead because he had not been fast enough, smart enough, or strong enough to help her. But that did not mean he should give up on the others. He shut down the main AI and switched to manual control of all station systems. This meant he would have to monitor everything himself, but at least the computer would not be working against him anymore. The silence that followed was complete. No more computer voice, no more helpful suggestions. Just June alone with the hum of machinery and the distant red glow of the blood moon outside the windows. He made himself a cup of coffee and sat down at the control station. The reading showed that life support was stable for now, but many systems were running close to failure. Without the AI to help monitor everything, he would have to stay awake and watch the controls constantly. As he drank his coffee, he thought about Hana. She had been excited about studying the blood moon effects. She had thought they might learn something important. Maybe she had been right. Maybe his struggle to keep the station running and the survivors alive would teach them something valuable about human endurance. Or maybe he was just too stubborn to know when to quit. Outside the windows, the blood moon was getting bigger and redder. The psychic storm was getting stronger. And June was getting more tired. But he was still alive. His friends were still alive. And as long as that was true, he would keep fighting, even if he had to fight alone. June had been alone for 8 days when he found Hana's research files. He was looking through the computer database for information about the station's backup power systems when he discovered her private research folder. The files were encrypted, but Hana had taught him her password months ago during a friendly conversation about computer security. The password was his name. As he read through her files, June began to understand things that had not made sense before. Hana had been studying more than just alien biology. She had been researching the blood moon phenomenon itself, trying to understand why some species survived while others did not. Her notes were detailed and scientific, but written in simple language that even he could understand. "Blood moons are not natural phenomena," she had written. "They are weapons created by an ancient civilization that no longer exists. These weapons were designed to eliminate potential threats through psychic warfare." June read further. According to Hana's research, most intelligent species in the galaxy had evolved on peaceful worlds. They had never experienced the kind of trauma that made minds strong against psychic attack. When they encountered blood moons, they broke quickly, but humans were different. Humans evolved on a world full of danger, Hana had written. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, wars, famines, diseases. For millions of years, humans survived by being stubborn, by refusing to give up even when everything seemed hopeless. This evolutionary history created minds that can resist psychic assault. She had included data from Earth's history. Information about humans who had survived terrible disasters, who had kept fighting when everyone around them died, who had found ways to live through things that should have killed them. The human ability to compartmentalize trauma, to find strength in grief, and to keep functioning under extreme stress is unique in the galaxy. Her notes continued. Where other species break under psychic pressure, humans adapt. They absorb the pain and keep moving forward. June sat back in his chair. This explained why he was still sane while his alien friends had collapsed. It was not that humans were immune to the blood moon's effects. It was that they were built to endure them. He kept reading. In her final entries, Hannah had been working on a theory about how human mental resilience might be used to help other species. If we could create a psychic shield based on human brain patterns, she had written, we might be able to protect non-human minds from blood moon effects. The key would be finding a way to broadcast human mental resistance to others. She had been planning to test this theory using the station's research equipment, but she had died before she could try. June looked around the empty control room. The equipment was still here. The research data was still available. He was not a scientist like Hannah, but he understood machines. Maybe he could figure out how to build what she had imagined. He spent the next 2 days reading everything Hannah had written about psychic shields and human brain patterns. It was difficult work. The science was complicated, and he had to look up many words he did not understand. But slowly he began to see what she had been planning. The idea was to use the station's communication array to broadcast a psychic signal based on human mental patterns. This signal would act like a protective barrier around other minds, giving them some of the same resistance that humans naturally had. It was a brilliant idea. It was also very dangerous. To create the signal, someone would have to connect their own mind directly to the broadcast system. They would have to open their thoughts to the psychic storm and use their own resistance as a template for protecting others. The process might kill them or drive them insane, but it might also save the surviving crew members. June made his decision quickly. He had already lost Hannah. He was not going to lose Taiho, Mira, and the others if he could help it. He began modifying the station's communication system according to Hannah's plans. The work was complex, but he had been fixing machines his whole life. He understood how to connect circuits, how to reroute power, how to make equipment do things it was not originally designed to do. As he worked, the blood moon continued to grow larger outside the station windows. The psychic pressure was getting stronger. Sometimes he found himself talking to Hannah as if she were still there, asking her questions about the technical details of her plan. I hope I am doing this right, he said to the empty room. I am not as smart as you were. But in his imagination he could hear her voice encouraging him to keep trying. She had always believed that humans could solve any problem if they worked hard enough and refused to give up. On the 10th day, June finished building the psychic shield generator. It looked like a mess of wires and circuits connected to the communication array, but according to his readings, it should work. The next step was the dangerous part. He had to connect his own mind to the system and activate the shield while the blood moon was at its strongest. If Hannah's theory was wrong, or if he had built the machine incorrectly, he would probably die. But if it worked, he might be able to save his friends. He put on the neural interface headset that he had modified from the station's research equipment. It felt heavy and cold against his skin. Wires ran from the headset to the communication array, carrying signals that would connect his thoughts to the psychic broadcast system. Computer, begin recording, he said to the backup system he had activated. This is Engineer June, Day 10, of the Blood Moon Crisis. I am about to attempt to activate a psychic shield based on research by xenobiologist Hannah. If this works, it may protect the surviving non-human crew members. If it does not work, anyone who finds this recording should know that we tried our best. He paused, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. About Hannah's death, about his friends suffering in their rooms, about the choice between running away and staying to fight. Hannah, if you can hear me somehow, I hope I am making you proud, he said quietly. Then he activated the psychic shield generator and opened his mind to the blood moon storm. The pain was like nothing June had ever experienced. When he activated the psychic shield generator, the blood moon's full power hit his mind like a hammer. Every terrible thought, every fear, every moment of despair that the psychic storm could create flooded into his consciousness at once. He saw visions of Earth burning. He saw his family dying in horrible ways. He saw Hana's death over and over again, each time more terrible than the last. The blood moon was trying to break him by showing him everything he was afraid of losing. But June held on. He thought about his promise to save his friends. He thought about Hana's research and her belief that humans could protect others. He thought about Taiho and Mira and all the other crew members who were depending on him. The psychic shield generator hummed and sparked around him. Electricity arced between the modified circuits as his human mind fought against the alien psychic storm. He could feel his thoughts being broadcast through the station's communication array, spreading his mental resistance to every room and corridor. Through the neural interface, he could sense the minds of his alien friends. Taiho's consciousness was dark and twisted with nightmare visions. Mira's crystal thoughts were fractured and sharp with pain. The others were trapped in cycles of fear and madness. But as June's psychic shield spread through the station, something began to change. The human pattern of his thoughts acted like a protective wall around the alien minds. His stubborn refusal to give up became their strength. His ability to keep fighting despite pain and loss became their shield against the blood moon's assault. It was working. The shield was actually working, but the effort was killing him. June could feel his own mind starting to fragment under the Yao strain. Blood ran from his nose. His hands were shaking uncontrollably. The neural interface was overloading, sending dangerous electrical surges through his brain. He was dying, but he could not stop now. Not when he was so close to saving them all. In his fading consciousness, he heard Hana's voice. But this time, it was not a hallucination created by the blood moon. This time it felt real, like she was actually there with him. "You are doing it, June," she said. "You are saving them. I am so proud of you. I miss you," he whispered through bleeding lips. "I know," she replied. "But you do not have to carry that pain alone anymore. Use it. Let your grief make you stronger. That is what humans do. We turn our pain into power." June understood. The HFY blood moon was trying to break him with visions of loss and death. But humans had been dealing with loss and death for millions of years. They had learned to survive by honoring their dead, by fighting for the people they loved, by refusing to let tragedy destroy them. He stopped fighting the pain and started embracing it. His grief for Hana became fuel for the psychic shield. His fear for his friends became determination to protect them. His exhaustion became proof of how hard he was willing to work for others. The blood moon's psychic storm could not break what was already broken and rebuilt stronger. The neural interface overloaded completely, sending sparks flying across the control room. June collapsed to the floor, unconscious, but still alive. The psychic shield generator continued to run on backup power, broadcasting his human resilience throughout the station. Slowly, the alien crew members began to wake up. Taiho was the first to recover. His compound eyes opened, clear and rational, for the first time in weeks. The violent madness was gone, replaced by confused but sane thoughts. He sat up in his quarters and looked around, wondering why he was not dead. Mira's crystal body began to glow again, soft blue light spreading through her crystalline structure. The cracks in her matrix sealed themselves as the psychic pressure lifted. She stood up on shaking legs and made her way toward the communication center. One by one, the other survivors emerged from their hiding places. They were weak and confused, but they were alive and sane. It was Taiho who found June unconscious in the control room. The Velkari scientist checked his vital signs with his 4 hands, then carefully moved him to the medical bay. "What happened?" Mira asked, her voice like gentle music again. "How are we still alive?" Taiho looked at the modified communication equipment, at the burned-out neural interface, at the human who had somehow saved them all. "June built a psychic shield," he said with wonder in his clicking voice. "He used his own mind to protect us from the blood moon. I have never seen anything like it." Dr. Yebin's voice came over the communication system. She had returned to the station in one of the escape pods when the blood moon's effects suddenly weakened. How is he? She asked, examining June's unconscious form. Alive, Taiho replied. Exhausted, injured, but alive. His brain activity is stable. He saved us all, Mira said quietly. While we were hiding or going insane, he stayed and fought for us. Over the next few days, more rescue ships arrived. The other human crew members returned from their escape. Pods' scientists and medical teams came to study what had happened on Kepler Station. But June slept through most of it. His body and mind needed time to recover from the ordeal of fighting a psychic storm designed to destroy entire civilizations. When he finally woke up, he found himself in the medical bay surrounded by friends. Taiho was there, his compound eyes bright with gratitude. Mira stood nearby, her crystal body glowing with warm colors. Dr. Yeben was checking his vital signs. Even Commander Yuki had returned to see how he was doing. Welcome back, Taiho said in his clicking voice. You have been unconscious for 6 days. June looked around the room, confused. Did it work? Are you all okay? We are more than okay, Mira replied. We are alive because of you. The psychic shield you created saved everyone on the station. June tried to sit up, then winced as pain shot through his head. Where is the blood moon now? Gone, Commander Yuki said. It passed through our system 3 days ago. The crisis is over. And Hana? June asked quietly. The room went silent. Dr. Yeben put her hand on his shoulder. She is still gone, June, she said gently. But her research made all of this possible. You built the shield based on her work. She saved us too, in her own way. June nodded, feeling tears in his eyes. He had kept his promise to save their friends, but the victory felt incomplete without Hana there to share it. Over the following weeks, as June recovered, scientists from across the galaxy came to study his psychic shield design. The technology he had created became the foundation for new protective systems that could defend entire planets from blood moon attacks. The story of Kepler Station spread throughout known space. The tale of a human engineer who refused to abandon his alien friends, who built a psychic shield with his bare hands and his stubborn will to survive, became a legend. But for June, the most important part was simpler than all the fame and scientific recognition. He stood in the station's observation deck, looking out at the stars where the blood moon had disappeared. Taiho and Mira were with him, along with the other crew members who had survived. Thank you, Taiho said simply, for not giving up on us. That is what friends do, June replied. We take care of each other. He thought about Hana and the promise he had made to her. The promise to save their friends, no matter what it cost. He had kept that promise, and in doing so, he had proved something important about humanity. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. They were not the smartest or the most advanced. But they had something that many other species lacked. They had the ability to keep fighting when everything seemed hopeless. They had the stubborn refusal to let the people they cared about be forgotten or abandoned. And sometimes that was enough to change everything. The blood moon was gone, but its lesson remained. In the darkness of space, when ancient weapons tried to destroy the innocent, there would always be someone willing to stand up and fight back. Sometimes that someone was human, and that made all the difference.